I will be explaining how to solve coding problem 4.4.4. For this problem, we are given a file name and a list of tuples, where each tuple is of the format int, string, int, float. We are tasked with writing the list of tuples to the provided file following the format described in problem 4.4.2. For those of you who don't remember, we described a new file type that conforms to the structure, with each row containing a number representing the assignment number, an assignment name, a grade, a total representing the total points for the assignment, and a weight representing the assignment's worth. And then each of these elements in a row is separated by a space. So let's begin with this problem. As we can see by the example code, we need to create a function called write1301. So let's begin with that. We're going to have def write1301, and then we're going to give it file name, and then we'll simply call it list of tuples. Alright, so for this problem, we want to write to file name. So we need to open a new file for writing. So let's begin with that. My file is equal to open. We're going to give it the file name that we want to open, and then we need to make sure to specify that we're opening file name for writing. Otherwise, if we don't specify it or we specify it incorrectly, we cannot write to the file. So now what we need to do is iterate through our list of tuples. So here there's nothing fancy, so what we can do is simply iterate normally. So for my tuple in list of tuples. Alright, so my tuple is going to correspond to one tuple in the list of tuples. So now what do we need to do? We need to create the string that we're going to be writing to my file. So we know that my tuple is of the form int, string, int, float. Luckily, we know the format of the tuple corresponds exactly in the same order as to what we want to write to the file. So the first int is the assignment number, the string is the assignment name, the third element, the second int, is the student's grade, the fourth element is the total possible number of points, and the last element is the assignment weight. So what we essentially just need to do is convert all of these to a string, append them all together, put spaces, and then write to the file. So let's do that. So I'm going to have a number variable that's going to be a string version of my tuple at 0, and then we have the assignment name, and that's simply going to be my tuple at 1. We have the grade, which is a string of my tuple at 2. The total, which is a string of my tuple at 3. And lastly, a weight, which is a string of my tuple at 4. So now that we have each of the elements and they're all strings, now we need to simply create a row. So the row is going to be the number, and then we're going to concatenate it with a space, and then we're going to have assignment name, add a space, grade, add a space, total, add a space, and lastly, finish with weight. We do not need to put a space at the end of weight, so we have finished creating our row. Now, all we need to do is do my file dot write, and we're going to put in the row, and then we're essentially going to be writing this row. And then we should be good to go. So then last thing that we need to do, as always, don't ever forget to close your file. So we should be good. And then note that we don't need to return anything. We're simply writing to the file. So this function is essentially finished. Now let's test it out to see if it works. All right, I got an error because I spelled something wrong. It says assignment name. All right, I spelled assignment wrong. All right, now let's run it again. All right, so the run finished. So now we have output.cs1301. Let's see what this says. All right, so now what do we have here? We have 1, exam 1, 90, 100, 0, 100.62. And then we have exam 2, 95, 100, 0.4. So something looks off here. First of all, it seems like this should be 0.6, not 0.62. And second of all, this should be all on its own line. However, we didn't really write it that way. So now let's go back to the problem and figure out why. Okay, so the issue lies in here when we're writing row. Something to note about whenever we write something is that unless we ourselves specify the new line character, write will always write something to the same row. So what we need to do is we need to add the new line character. That way, when we write to my file, now it's going to write one row, add the new line character, and then now Python is going to know that next time we need to write it to the new line. So now let's run it again and test to see if it works. All right, now let's check output. All right, now as we can see, we have 2 lines, and then we have 0.6, and then everything looks good. So now let's go back and then submit this for grading. Now, as you can see, we have successfully completed this assignment.